I want to just kind of offer a couple of resources that I have come across and that I have found really helpful to kind of get things started. And then I'm going to get this open into just some conversation points, because I think that's going to really be the most fruitful way to spend some of this time. Usually the Wednesday sessions are a little bit almost more jumping off and getting to feel out, and then it gives more direction into Saturday sessions, which is also really exciting. So I appreciate you all being here. And I didn't say this before, but I should also say, for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining us. There are quite a few people who are here for the first time, and that's really wonderful and exciting. Our room is expanding. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. You know, it's absolutely wonderful for you to be here again. For those of us who have been doing this and coming to this, it really is a bit of a family community vibe. It's almost like a bit of therapy as well, to just remind us of what else we can do in this world. The first thing I do want to share is actually a link I'm going to put in the chat here, and you can check this out now if you'd like to, or you can save it for later. If you're on my emailing list or check out the event pages, you may have seen this one. It comes from a place called theoatmeal.com, and it basically takes you through a wonderful comic that explains the difficulties in trying to learn new information after we have learned so many things that we thought would be our be all end all of facts. Especially as adults, we are even more subject to what I believe they describe as like the backfire theory. And it's just the many different subconscious ways we instantly try to reject knowledge that does not fit into our comfortable house of knowledge. We do it often very innocently, and then we also do it very consciously and deliberately at times as well. It's a great little read if you haven't gone through it yourself, and it's a wonderful article to share with people who may be struggling to try and understand why so many things are changing now in the world, and how that evolves. Aside from that, I'm going to go to some share screen here for just, let's see, well, this is also part of where that just came from, oatmeal, but we're not going to look at the oatmeal right now. I want to go through this other source that I did share. It comes from a specific program called Netroots Nation, which is a part of the Netroots Foundation. Now, I always like to do a little bit of that research and say, like, well, who's the Netroots Foundation before I'm sharing things? So here we go. Netroots Foundation is an organization focused on advancing the values of justice, equality, and community in our nation's politics. We focus on 3 primary programs: a media mentor program, the Netroots Nation, which is where this comes from, and then they have a fiscal sponsorship, and then their mission statement down here: to bring together online citizens across America, inject progressive voices into the national conversation, and advance the values of justice, equality, and community in our nation's politics. And I want to highlight that I think they're very intentional and deliberate in saying justice, equality, and community, not mentioning the word equity, because equity is a different and separate idea from equality. And if you're not sure on that, just do a little Google search on versus, the difference between equity and equality. But I want to highlight that because I think, again, the weight of words and the intention with words and being deliberate and specific is so important. And I think that they get that really right here. This document of theirs that I want to share, this inclusion etiquette form, as they call it. Let me scroll it back up. It is a part of when they're actually doing their different programs that this is a document they provide, but since it's right here and open on the internet, it's like, this is great for everyone, quite honestly. It does a wonderful job of explaining mindfulness for different communities, different oppressed or overlooked communities at times, as well as different language and definitions. And I mean, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I encourage everyone to visit this and read through everything they have on disability inclusion, because I think it's really well put together, as well as racialized communities inclusion. I want to spend time on it right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it moving because I think this is the best part for where we're at today in understanding more about our community: transgender and gender non-binary inclusion. Because this is where a lot of people, I think, start to get it wrong, in my opinion. So this is where I wanted to just focus a touch of education, as I'd like to say. I'm just going to read it out loud in case you're not seeing it, and that's quite all right. But when it starts here saying, do not assume anyone's gender, even people you may have met in the past. A person's external appearance may not match their internal gender identity. Pay attention to a person's purposeful gender expression. It's polite to ask. I reiterate, it is polite to ask, what is your name and pronouns? Before assuming and using pronouns or gendered words. And when you learn pronouns, make sure to use them every time. When addressing or speaking about a group, use gender inclusive language like folks, y'all, everyone, or guests instead of gendered terms such as you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I know, and anyone who's been coming to Tough Talks knows that I particularly have been actively working in and out of these sessions to get myself back into you folks and you friends, because I default to gendered words that are inappropriate and unnecessary, and especially as an educator, as an artist, but even just as a mindful human being, it's a great practice to work towards being inclusive and welcoming and positive. That's a part of what any teacher, any director, any parent always wants to put out to a point, because you want to have some sort of presence that makes people want to trust you. You want to be able to be trusted, and you want to be able to build that. And inclusivity and positivity absolutely is the path in that direction. And so it's something that we all can work on. Kind of keep going here with this, that, you know, one way of acknowledging transgender and gender non-binary people's needs is to designate restrooms as gender neutral. In bathrooms, many transgender and gender non-binary people face harassment. So please let everyone pee in peace, regardless of whether or not they are in a gender neutral bathroom. Self-explanatory. If you really need more on that, schedule a one-on-one session with me, which I'm calling now Tough Tea, and we can get into that. Moving on. Listen respectfully to transgender and gender non-binary people's stories if they are volunteered, but don't ask unnecessary questions. Respectful allies who learn from and with transgender and gender non-binary people, and then educate others, are important for successful transgender and gender non-binary liberation. And that's where, you know, as I say to everyone who comes to these talks, this is a part of enacting the change. This is a part of understanding more on how to be an ally and how to activate yourself in these changes and in these causes. But then it's taking it beyond here, because what you do is not only going to welcome others and invite others and include others, but it also teaches others on how to be inclusive and how to be inviting. We have to practice what we preach. We have to. Bi, pan, fluid, queer, bi plus can be sometimes put together, inclusion. Be openly supportive of the bi plus community. Being openly supportive of the bi plus community creates a space where we can all be our full selves. Here are some pointers on being an ally. And this is super important, because this is one that I think I feel in my world, and even for myself, it's like, I know I should have been doing better on this for far longer than I have been. Use inclusive language instead of gay rights, gay marriage. Try equal rights, marriage equality. Respect people's privacy and boundaries. Accept you might never fully understand someone's sexuality. Say you could replace that with, you know, respect or accept you might never fully understand someone else's oppression. You know, accept you might never fully understand someone else's story. It's a great principle. Sexualities outside the exclusively homosexual, heterosexual binary are often erased and delegitimized. So bi, pan, fluid, queer people usually have to repeatedly come out. Many face similar discriminations as gays and lesbians with regard to issues like job security and healthcare, and that list can just go on and on. And so remember, do not insist that a gender non-conforming or trans person or their partners discards their own identity label. And in fact, recognize that the way specific relationships function is independent of sexual orientation. I'll say that again. Recognize that the way specific relationships function is independent of sexual orientation. Love is love, and you just got to respect that. Be positive about all relationships, monogamous, polyamorous, or anything else. Quickly, I'm only going to just point out that these glossary terms are absolutely fabulous if you need some updated definitions to just understand some of these tricky things, be it from just racism or BIPOC, misogyny, mansplaining, white-splaining, or even intersectionality, which is another one that I think is getting closer and closer to becoming a bit more of an established normal term. And the funny thing is it's been around for decades, and yet some people are just getting to it.